basically got her inflatable kayak, paddled out and then dropped them in. That mask over there was the original mask from actual Cabin in the Woods.
I'm going to apologise for asking this. Is there any future for Big Thorpe? But next year is a big year for Fright Nights. Are there going to be exciting plans? Anything you can tell us?
So
Yo, what is going on guys? My name is TheJackSilkstone. Today we're here at the Thorpe Park Resort and we're going to be heading into the park to be taken on a behind the scenes tour of the Fright Nights Fearstival event. Let's go.
hi guys, my name is Steph. I'm one of the entertainment experience managers here at Thorpe Park Resort and we are here to show Jack around Fright Nights.
Hi, and I am Jim and I am the entertainment production assistant, and yeah, we're going to take them around and have a look at all the props, the costumes and all the sets of the attractions.
So the very first spot that we have come to today is next to the bridge, and I'm a bit scared right now because I'm looking at two crows who are up on the crosses. So the crows are obviously a new addition for this year's Fright Nights, and you guys obviously came up with the concept and everything, so what can you tell us?
So the crows were a brand new concept this year. One of our team members came up with the concept, just thought it was a really cool idea to have a roaming group of crows and they'd be very static and get a different kind of scare that we haven't done on the park before. It's called waxing, so where the actors wax for a very long time, so guests believe that they're either a statue or kind of gives that full sense of security.
Because of course in the past you've had roaming teams like You're Next who are quite hands-on and intense. Whereas this year, they're a bit more creepy, you're kind of scared from a distance even. Yeah. And am I right in thinking the masks are all handmade?
Yeah, so I've got a production host called Mo who made each of the masks. That mask over there was the original mask from actual Cabin in the Woods that I made back in 2014, 2016?
Yeah, 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was an original from when I did Cabin in the Woods, making that mask. But all the others, Mo is handmade herself, and they each have their own look and their own style, and that's per actor as well, so they all have their own.
Okay, so all the masks are different?
Yeah, so yeah, none of them look the same, they're all completely different.
Obviously this year, due to the pandemic, we've been thinking about different ways that we can bring Fright Nights to the resort, and our atmosphere and roaming offerings were something that definitely came to the table quite a lot. So we felt like this roaming group of crows could bring a classic monster to the table. We don't normally do that kind of stuff, or haven't done in our past. Obviously, due to the pandemic, all our staff do wear masks on the resort, so Jim and the team have really incorporated how can we wear masks that are incorporated into our costumes, just so we can give the full look and that really strong quality of a production value into our offerings. So we came up with the concept quite early on in the run, actually, when we were back in meetings in August and September, and we just really thought that this was something new, a small cluster of crows that either move or don't move or are really eerie is something that we've never really done before, so we thought that we'd give that a go and see what that brings to the table.
So we've now made our way over to the Swarm Invasion, a brand new scare zone for this year.
So the Swarm has been around since 2012, so we wanted to really focus on some of our rides this year. So one thing that we have at Fright Nights that other scare parks maybe don't have is our great coasters, our top 5 coasters as well. So we really wanted to focus on those as well and bring some immersion back to them with our entertainment team. So we really looked at the story of the Swarm, looked at a lot of the promos that we did in 2011 as a park. We looked at some of the characters, such as we had the lesbian character, obviously, who was preaching out that the war is coming, the end is now, and we really wanted to go back to that fan favourite group of characters that everyone still talks about. So we really looked at the Swarm, but how can we reinvent that? How can we utilise what we already have on site? And how can we bring this area to life and make it scary? Because obviously, as you can see, the area is an apocalypse and a plane crash site. It's already quite scary, so how do we bring this area to life? Make it engaging, make it scary, make it new. also make it really unique. So we've come up with this concept based on the 2011 promo, but just kind of tweaking it to more modern day and giving it a fresh lick of paint, essentially.
So yeah, so with the Swarm, we decided that we'd go more with the aftermath of what happened with Swarm in 2012. So from that, now we've got the tactical Hornets, which essentially are human, but they've also been mixed with the Swarm genetics. So which some of them, well, you can see like they've got an alien hand claw with a lot of sort of alien webbing on their arms, and then they've also got their tactical guns, which they go around. And then with that as well, they've got their face masks, their tactical masks and their visors. So each of the actors, they will wear one of those, as well as wearing their own balaclava face mask underneath. So at the end of each day, they'll get them cleaned, and then the next day they'll get given that, and that will be their mask for that whole day, so they don't get swapped. Nothing happens with them, they just get cleaned at the end of the day. And then you've got the Tainted, which are the other actors which are running around. And then they've got the neck scarves that they wear over their face, and they're the ones screaming, and they've got the mics which are connected up to the speakers that are around Swarm.
And there, a lot of the characters have their own microphones.
Yeah, so we bought mic packs for the Hornets, so they had that kind of robotic sort of sound, so it was like a humanoid sort of noise. And it also helped because they've got the balaclava face masks on and they've got the visors over that. It's kind of hard to hear, so by adding that mic pack, it also helps project their voice, and it gives that kind of like that stern sort of robotic sort of voice to help with their character.
Well, as both of you have been working here a long time, why now? Why 8 years on after the Swarm was built, is there now a scare zone?
I think we've looked at our rides beforehand, so obviously we've had actors on board every ride, we've had Derek Brown's Ghost Train, last year for the 40th anniversary we talked about characters who saw the ride as well. So when looking at our deck and our lineup for this year, we really wanted to focus on a ride that maybe hadn't had that focus previously in the last couple of years. We wanted to give so we wanted to give guests something completely new that they've not seen before, bring back a fan favourite with a new twist, and just focus on an area that you're pretty immersed in here as soon as you come onto the island. It's not an area on park where there's multiple rides. It's the Swarm Island with the Swarm. So we wanted to bring that story into life a little bit more. But it's opened up so many opportunities for the future. I really enjoy this area. It's got something completely different that we've not focused on before.
So we've now made our way to quite an iconic Fright Night spot within the park. In the past we've had mazes like the Big Talk, My Bloody Valentine, Do or Die here, and this year we've got another brand new scare zone in the form of Lycanthorpe High.
Indeed. So obviously we had Amity High that joined us last year, or did in 2018, but kind of came to life with the high school element really last year and really brought in the flash mob element last year. So we, again, when discussing the lineup for this year, the other entertainment experience manager just said, oh, in the future I'd love to bring back a rival high school. That would be great. Maybe they could, I'd love to bring werewolves or another classic monster that rivals the vampires from Amity High. And it kind of went, well, why not? What's stopping us from doing it? So we looked at a lot of the logistics of it. Obviously they are werewolves, so how do we make them look like werewolves and realistic werewolves without it being cheesy or to a high standard? So Jim did a lot of work on that and making sure that it was something we could do within our operation.
Going off of what Steph said, costume was a real big thing this year, especially with Amity last year. We really wanted to step up the costume design this year, and since then we changed the era to the 80s. It took many a day for me researching cheerleaders of 80s and not finding any specific costume to go with that, so I ended up basically designing my own costume to put together for the cheerleaders, and then with that we really stepped up the mark by getting everything embroidered this year as well, so it was longer lasting. So then in the future years, if it comes back, we've got that costume and it's still good to go. So designed the logos for that to go on and get them embroidered. And then we took a lot of time looking at how we would kind of make the werewolves look werewolfy with hair. And we went straight back to the old Teen Wolf classic movies of having their full hair and going, that's going to take too long to do makeup wise. So we whittled it down to basically having the sideburns of the hair on the werewolves, and then with that accompanying that with a clear mask. So had trouble as well with the clear masks. It's very hard to find decent clear masks, so I ended up actually making all the clear masks myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I designed and made all those clear masks myself to accompany the postiche and also their teeth that they wear. So each of them have their own set of teeth, mask and hair. Some of the girls actually have dyed hair, so I ended up dyeing the sideburns as well to their hair colour and then matching it all up. And then with the ears as well, we designed and sculpted the ears and then made them out of latex. And then we had to basically have headshots of each and every person that was in Lycanthorpe, of the actors, and then match their skin tone as best we could to the ears as well. So they each have their own set of ears. So yeah, so basically every day when they come in, myself and Mulder, who's the production host, takes us roughly about 2 hours to apply everything to each actor. So we apply everything to make sure it's on there and it's not coming off throughout the day.
We focus a lot when we're doing our concepts on what universe do they live in, are they in the same universe as any of our other attractions, is there any Easter eggs that we can bring back from the past of Fright Nights or us. And there's a few Easter eggs on this set right now in terms of the management team. I won't say what they are, but there are some Easter eggs on this bus right now. But we looked at what does that high school look like then, with inspirations from Universal Halloween Horror Nights and anything else, and favourite films of ours, and Jim's worked a lot on TV and film as well, so how can we incorporate all that to bring this to life? And this has been a massive fan favourite. We have so many families and kids and adults as well who come over here, and there really is a true positive rivalry between Amity and Lycan, but especially within our guests as well. If you look on the Facebook comments, it's always Amity is so much better, no, Team Lycan, and you really see that there are two different teams, two different tribes essentially. But I feel like that's great. That's something we've never had on the park before. Like I said, we've always gone for scare, 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 and that has worked. But I feel like the scare industry and the immersive industry has definitely developed in the last 5 years. So it's about adhering to all of those things that are expected from a guest point of view, but what can we bring that's different?
As you were mentioning about the whole universe, first of all, I love it. I'm a massive fan of the rivalry. I personally, Lycanthorpe. In the future, can you see this universe developing into a potential maze, more, development of the scare zones? Is there a future basically for the rivalry of Amity and Lycanthorpe?
There definitely is. It depends, obviously every year is different in terms of what's happening in the industry, what does the park not have, what can we deliver, what skill set do we have within our team. But I feel like Amity last year really rose for us in our offering, and actually surprised us as a management team how well received it was. Obviously there was a dance, we've never done dances before here, well not certainly in my time for Fright Nights, so it was a brand new venture for us and kind of hitting a different audience target to what we had done before. So we really were unsure on how well we received, and it did amazing. It was a fan favourite last year, so we really wanted to focus on that. So there's definitely strength and definitely foundations that we can for sure build on. I'd love to see other schools pop up or develop the story, or look at how we've developed Amity, which we'll go into more when we're over there. But last year was the prom at Amity in the 50s, and this year's the Halloween ball in the 80s. But if you listen to the audio, you will hear the same teacher. So it's like the teacher's still at the school and she's still there, but all the students have changed. So these guys, so Jim, Emily and Leah, some of our team leaders, their voices are what's used in the audio track for the characters that you hear before the dance. So it's still the story. So one of the best things about making concept is going, okay, well, what if it's in the 90s now, and what would the teachers done? Is this where we have one of the younger students from last year be a prefect? You could literally bring out the storyboards and make up whatever you wish and whatever you feel is going to be right for the guests. And some of those ideas we do throw off and can away and say, maybe for another day, but not this year. It's not going to reach what we need it to do, and vice versa. But there's definitely scope for this, and it's one of my favourite parts of concepts is making Easter eggs and making stories. And we've put Creek Freak and Platform 15 in the same universe, even though it doesn't sound like it would go together. But you have the Creekwood Sawmill and Creek Tours. So those two attractions, or those two groups of people or characters, may never meet each other, but they are in the same universe. So we've put little Easter eggs throughout those. So yeah, definitely for Lycanthorpe and Amity, the future is big and strong for it, and we'll just have to wait and see for the future what happens with it.
That's so cool, because whilst the average guest might not know a single thing about any of this, it's us fans that really love this whole backstory, and we appreciate all of the effort that goes into it. It's so cool. So we've now made our way into the centre of the park at yet another brand new scare zone for this year. It's the Fearstival Arena.
It is indeed the headline act of this year. So obviously, as you guys would have visited the park before, Oktoberfest was in this area before. We really wanted this to be the hub of Fright Nights, and it is the headline act, so we really wanted to make this the centre of the Fright Nights event. So this is a concept that was on the plate last year as well, but we didn't feel it was right to put it into the lineup last year, and it was one of those ideas that I mentioned earlier that was kind of put to the side and thought maybe the next year or a year after, but just not right now. So we really looked at this year and developed it into what it is today. Looking around, you can see that the colours are very black, white, grey, teal. We wanted to take it away from anything that we've previously done. Obviously, everyone knows that we've had the big top here before, and we really wanted to make sure that it was portrayed that this wasn't the big top. We didn't want to bring similar characters back, because this is a brand new concept, this is a brand new performance area, so we really wanted to look at, well, what is the look and the feel of this area? Who are the characters? Who do you get to meet as guests? What is it that the guests get to do in this area, and why is this the central hub?
So with the costumes, it's kind of like a vintage, kind of its own vintage-esque kind of feel with them. So we had a look like the 1800s, a lot of those type of eras, and we came up with this really kind of unique look, which you can probably tell, especially with the carnies with their bowler hats, their braces and the shirts, and then they got their trousers rolled up with the white socks. And then with the sort of the main characters, which you have bearded lady. So she has a real human hair beard, which is under a mask. So they all of them wear specific masks, which is like this one, which we got for each of them to have their own mask. And then you have the twins. So the twins was quite a hard one to come by. So we came up with the twins as characters, but we couldn't actually find any decent costume for them. So I ended up making the costume from scratch. So yeah, so that is all sewn together by myself, and then with their masks as well. The masks are in-house made as well, so Mold, the production host, made the masks, and that also goes for the mimes as well. So all the masks are made in-house for the mimes. So they're the bandaged ones, and it's all bandaged up, so you can't really see what's happened with their face, but all you know is that they can't talk, which is a really good character trait for them. And then you have Loco the Clown. So we didn't want to kind of associate anything with how Big Top was, so there is one clown in there, but he's more of a pet, so he's kept, so the bearded lady actually has him kind of like a dog, so they're kind of like a kind of pet of the Fearstival, as it were. So yeah, so they all have their own face masks for when they're carnies, and a lot of the characters, and then all of the sort of looks we went. So the strongman in particular, we didn't want that stereotypical kind of spandexy suit with the stripes. We wanted to go really old-fashioned with it, so that's why you can see he's got the braces on, he's got that kind of old sort of pirate-looking shirt and that leather waistcoat, just to make it unique and something that we've never done before as well. So yeah, it was a really good sort of process making the costumes, and then having a look at what can be associated with it and how all the colour schemes and the colour palettes go together.
Yeah, just this area is something that will definitely grow in the future. It's something that, again, we've never done before. I've been saying that quite a lot today, but I feel like we were really brave, and we really went out there with new concepts this year, and really just tried things and just weren't afraid to give it a go. Some fun facts about this area is, you can't see it at the moment, but the mic that they use on the main stage is from Germany. So that was shipped over a couple of weeks ago, and that is to really give that 1930s 1940s like feel, so it's one of the rounded microphones. And then at Lycan and Amity they have like the rockabilly microphones, so we've really thought about all the detail in that stuff as well. Instead of just putting a light up, it's, well, what is the light, what is the feel, what lights would they bring with them? If you're in a, if you're at a school disco, what microphone would you have? So we've really looked at that attention to detail. So yeah, fun facts about that.
A few of the props that are on the stage is actually from the Big Top, which has been resprayed and sort of redesigned to match all the colours with Fearstival, as well as the Zoltar box as well, which gets used from time to time with the different characters. characters. So we have like a mixed match from the old sort of plots that we had from Big Top, and then we've incorporated it in this as well. So you still have that sort of carnival, circusy-esque kind of feel to it still.
And a lot of the actors in this cast have worked in circus roles before, so we have got some poi in there as well. We've got people who can do acrobats. So when we were casting and when we did our audition process, we kind of put it out to them and said, have you got any special skills?
Yeah.
Nothing is a bad skill right now, or something that we might not be looking at. And we looked at what do we have on the table, and then consider them for casting for this area.
And as you mentioned there, you try to disassociate this as much as possible with Big Top. I'm going to apologise for asking this. Is there any future for Big Top? Can you see it coming back, or is it you don't even know at this point?
At this point, we don't really know at this point in terms of what our future Fright Nights look like. A lot of the time when we're looking at our Fright Nights lineup, we really do look at what can we deliver. There's so many factors in our lineup. The Big Top was fantastic, it was great. We're all big fans of the Big Top, the music. Just this year it didn't fit into our lineup, so never say never.
Never say never.
We brought things back such as Studio 13 for the Roman team in 2016 from 2014. We've brought back the Curse for certain Roman elements as well, so we never really box anything fully away. And you never know, so no plans at the moment, but you never know in the future what could happen. The future's bright, so yeah, can't really say at the moment. But it's,
I had to ask.
No, of course.
So we've now made our way into a returning but very different maze for this year. It's platform 15.
It is indeed. So platform 15 arrived, no pun intended, in 2016. So I came up with the concept back then, and obviously over the years it's grown and grown, and as guests would have seen coming through the last couple of years, we've really developed the story but also focused a lot on the set and the storytelling element as well. This is its 5th year, so we wanted to bring a new lease of life to it as well, but also flip it around. And when I say flip it around, I mean literally flip it around. So there were some factors when looking at this attraction that kind of led us to that decision. So things such as tight spacing obviously isn't allowed at the moment. So when we were looking at actors in the tunnel and things like that, we really had to consider those things, and was it safe for anyone? Is it the right thing in terms of the experience anymore? So we really looked at how can we bring this to life in the current climate that we're in. How can we bring something different to it as well? What can we focus on? Is it more that we focus on tech and scenic? We need to make spaces for the actors to pop out of as well from a 2-meter distance. So we really looked at that stuff when creating this, and kind of forgot everything that we known before about platform. I went, right, here's the foundation, what do we do with this? So we re-looked at the story and really focused on those storytelling elements to bring this attraction to life. So obviously we've got our characters in here such as the sleepers, the conductor. The story is always what happened to the conductor. Do you get to see him? Back in 2016 when we first opened, you would have tour guides trying to do a Ouija board to try and summon the conductor and he'd appear. We've then looked at the Victorian element a little bit more. One year they've had the bride who was on the train who was jilted, or she's lost her groom. So we've really looked at, again, another parallel situation of universes. What are those little character stories and what ones do we focus on? So where we are right now is by one of our Creek tour facts. So this particular part of the attraction, we call this Tour's Walk. We have 3 facts about the tour so people understand what actually happened to the Sleeper Express. So one of them is this one, which is the Creek tour fact. This was the last known sighting of the conductor in this very spot. All that remains is this very lamp. So especially in the evening when it's dark, guests can walk down and see the lamp flicker in and know that this was the last part of the conductor that anyone saw. And whether you see him beyond here or not, I'll leave to the imagination. But there's loads of different facts that we'll go down and see.
I suppose in previous years you've had this near 100-meter stretch to tell a story, whereas this year you've got like not even half of that, so you've had to kind of develop the scenery and costumes to help tell that story.
Exactly.
Yeah. and with the audio, when guests are queuing, they get to hear that story as well. And one thing that I really love and really I'm proud of is that over the last few years we've been able to bring our production just to a higher standard. So for example, instead of outsourcing a company to record our safety speeches, we've done it in-house and utilised our show captains and our acting team who have got that skill set, and they're here, and we've been able to really bring the attraction to life from the moment you queue up or the moment you step into that zone or area. So by the time you hit the ticket office and you're going through the village, you have a backstory of what you're going to see. I went to Alcatraz a couple of years ago, and I always remember being fascinated by putting on these headphones and walking around and hearing about all the different prisoners and what happened to them and their stories, and I really wanted to bring that to life in this attraction. And if we could have headphones, you would have headphones, but imagine that without the headphones. So how do we do that without actually guests having to do all of that stuff? So this is the next fact here. So obviously you can see this, which has been here a long time. I can confirm it is from the Creek train. We have been utilising this area for a long time now, so just bringing in parts of the park that we can bring to life again. Again, those little Easter eggs that we talk about. But everyone wonders, why did the Sleeper Express crash? Why did it derail? We've never really explained that. We've just said it's derailed. So this year we wanted to explain why. So one of the tour facts that we have here is that here still flickers the signal light that failed to stop the locomotive, causing it to derail. So we've explained that. Obviously the attraction opens at 3 o'clock, so in the day these facts are a lot more visible than necessarily at night. So again, you get a different side of the attraction depending on when you come through. They're both very, very different. And if you are on a tour, you do have fact boards everywhere, and you do have a host who's taking you around and a guide, and you might have a paper guide or an audio book that you're listening to. So again, that was one of the reasons why this was there. And then if you look just slightly down here, you've got the signal hut, so it says platform ahead, and then the one behind says platform still ahead, so it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek. And yeah, I feel like this is something that we've never explained before. So again, this is one of my favourite moments because we've really focused on the detail in the scenery, and just been able to make bring this to life a little bit more as well. And those who would have been through would have seen that this does flicker as well. So the idea is that this is what caused the train to derail, and that's why the train came to a stop in the first place. And then everyone knows the rest of the story about the conductor. But yeah, this is one of my favourite parts as well. So here is the final fact. However, this is the first fact that the guests see because they come down this way as well. So we have gone backwards. But everyone knows the sleeper characters. They are our mascots for this attraction. Back in 2016, the reason partly why they look the way they do is because I wanted to go away from blood and having the same makeup throughout the attractions. I wanted to have something that was completely black and white, very, very monotone, so that's why we went with tar instead of blood. And throughout the years we've definitely stayed away for blood. As you can see in the scenery here, there is no red paint. We did some replenishing last year where if things were written in keep out in red, we changed it to black because the language throughout the production is that it's tar. Yeah. So we wanted that to be spoken in everything that we did in this attraction. So the fact is, here remains the tar that the passengers ingested after the explosion. May their lost souls rest in peace. So everyone knows that the sleepers are erratic and they're quite animalistic, and it's a fantastic role to play when you're a scare actor. You really get to go a full energy level at this, and it's something we really focus on in auditions to make sure that they can do that, and that does help depict their casting as well. You need to have really good stamina to be able to run around as a sleeper for like an hour and a half. So something that we wanted to bring into the tour facts was that the tar was the reason why we have the sleepers. So for those who don't know, the sleepers ingested the tar. They went to go into the train engine. They went to restart it to see if they could fix it so they could head back to the village or at least get to somewhere safe. And by doing that, the box exploded and they ingested the tar, and that's how they died. And therefore they never fully went across to the other side and became ghosts. They became tormented souls, lost souls, and they're now trapped in this limbo where they're just forever ingesting tar or feel like they're being kind of engulfed by this tar. So there are 3 tour facts, but we do have another spot where we have focused on what happened to some of the passengers, which we'll go down here in a second, and I'll let Jim talk about that a little bit more.
as you could probably tell, there are 2 floating bodies in the lake. So we've always wanted to put something in the lake just to help with the theming and the set dressing, just because you've got such this long walkway. And you've just got lighting and smoke, so it's nice to add some prop elements to it. So yeah, so we decided this year we were actually going to put some bodies in the water. So fun fact is the bodies are actually the mannequins that were on the train from last year.
Okay.
And because they didn't have any heads, I've actually recycled the heads from Do or Die and attached them to the mannequin bodies, and then we've dressed them in the platform, in some of the platform costume. And then they are weighted down with some of the feet for the Harris fencing. So myself and Katie basically got her inflatable kayak, paddled out, and then dropped them in. And then also we have 2 sort of little lights either side just shining on them, so when it goes dark they are lit up so the guests can see them when they walk past.
So they were literally kayaked out here.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. We've got some good photos and videos.
I can imagine
having to climb over and take the kayak down and then put it in the water and drag them out and drop them in the right place.
Are they there to stay now, or are they able to be?
I think they will stay there for a while. At the end of the season we might bring them back and let them dry out a bit. They are a tad wet, I would say. Yeah,
they're very scary, I must say. I only noticed it on like my 2nd or 3rd run through, and it gave me a right fright.
Yeah, I mean, wheeling them through the park is great fun.
So we've now headed out of platform into Old Town itself within the new scare zone for this year, Freaks Unchained, which is obviously a kind of continuation of the brand new maze for last year, Creek Massacre.
So Creek obviously, as you mentioned, was a brand new attraction for last year. We really wanted to bring the buckwheats to life, but as you have been through Creek, you will know that there are very confined spaces, pool spaces, butcher's curtains, all that kind of stuff that just wasn't feasible at all this year. However, we didn't want to lose the concept of the sawmill. It's a fantastic concept. We really wanted to bring the characters to life, so we thought, well, why not bring the characters out to our guests instead? And we focused on 4 different areas. So at the start of the zone where guests come in, they get registered to be a buckwheat. The second part of the zone, which you might have seen or probably have done, is the shop, which is where you pick up your buckwheat supplies. So that was authorization, so that was you have your registration and then you have your authorization, and then you go to the moonshine bar, which is where Ma is, and that's where you have initiation and you kind of drink your moonshine to see if you are viable to be an honorary buckwheat. So then you come through to this part of the attraction or the zone, and it is where annihilation happens, which is where you get chased with a chainsaw basically. So we tried to take the elements of Freak Massacre and bring it to Freaks Unchained, so you still have the same model. All the actors have their own buckwheat name. They all have their own moonshine jars. They have all their own different costumes and shirts, so the different coloured shirts mean different levels of buckwheat workforce in the sawmill.
We decided this year, because all the actors have their own water bottles, it's kind of hard just to go back and then quickly have a sip, especially outside in the scare zone. So I came up with the idea of actually they have their own moonshine bottles. So each of the actors actually have their own moonshine jar, which they fill up with water and they actually put by the moonshine bar. So then if they do get first, they can have a drink still in character, and then it still goes with the whole journey that the guests take as well. So we thought that really kind of gelled well with the buckwheats. At the start of getting everything prepared for Fright Nights, we had to go through all the dungarees from last year, and because it was such a high energy maze, ended up having to fix quite a few pair of dungarees and jeans to get them all ready. But yeah, so they've got their standard, their jeans, their dungarees, their different coloured shirts for what level they are. And then also we incorporated a few new characters, which is Ma, Pa, and then you've got Grandpa. So Grandpa stays on the veranda here. So he's different. He's got a denim jacket as well with his costume and a hat. And then you also have Ma, who has a cardigan, and she has a sort of floral blouse that she wears as well. And then with the props, we've got the props, which is all the axes. So you'll have the axes, which some of them will be wielding and will be intimidating the guests with. And then also you've got your standard, the chainsaws. So we've got quite a few chainsaws out here, so we have around 3 chainsaws at a time out here, while the rest, then we have backups ready to go, so we can do that quick crossover in case one does run out, then you've always got a spare one to quickly whip out. So it should be at any time that there's no chainsaws, there will always be at least 2 or 3 chainsaws out.
What a tough decision deciding not to bring back Freaks. Obviously there's regulations you need to meet and all that. Was it a long and hard decision, or?
It was a really tough decision, but of course our safety is first, and we wanted to protect our staff and our guests, of course, and it just wasn't the right thing to do, and we couldn't deliver the attraction to the standard of last year, and it was so well received last year. It is, again, I keep saying this, it was last year's fan favourite as well, and we felt like we didn't want to do disservice to that as well, so we looked at how can we deliver this but in a completely different concept and different model, and that's how we ended up with Freaks Unchained. We did come up with the name of Unleashed at first, but then our marketing team said actually Unchained is better because of chainsaws, and we were like, yes, we'll go with Unchained. So yeah, tough decision, but it was the right thing to do. So we've been able to bring something different again to the park by having that decision made.
Fingers crossed it won't be long before we get back into the sawmill. So we've headed in now to the other scare maze at this year's event, the brand new Roots of Evil.
So Roots of Evil, as you said, is the other attraction that we have here. So our lineup this year consists of 2 attractions, and the rest are either zones or other attractions such as Screamplex Cinema or roaming areas. So this is one of our paid for attractions where the guest gets to go through the story of Roots of Evil, what happens within the forest. So as you can see behind me, we have shooting targets. This is what we call the compound area. So as a guest you will be recruited essentially to come and help find out what happened within the forest and why have some of the military unit guys gone missing, and you will go into the forest to find out what's happened. When looking at this concept, again, this was something that we've not done before. Everyone knows it was Blair Witch beforehand, and when we look at repurposing an attraction or looking at the same spacing, we really look at how can we take it so far away from what's been done before. What we really don't want to do is for our guests to come through and say it's essentially the same thing with a few tweaks. So we've really looked at lengthening the experience, making the experience longer, so we've utilised some of our buildings from other attractions. So the building that Jungle Escape resides in, how can we retheme that and reuse that space if it's here for us to use? How can we use the areas around us and really make sure that guests get a lengthy experience? The same as Platform 15, we looked at lengthening the experience of that as well.
Yeah, within Roots we have sort of 3 main characters. So you have the specialists, which are situated in the pre-show area, which is the start of the Jungle Escape, which it was the Huntsman's Tent, and then you have in here, you have the military. So with those 2 characters, really wanted to kind of ump up the production value, so I literally went and got actual proper tactical webbing, military tactical webbing, real tactical overlays as well, and then the helmets as well as the masks. So with the military masks, they each have their own black mask they wear underneath, and then they have that camo mesh overlay mask that they wear on top of that. And then inside as well, when you go inside the actual maze bit of the forest, you also have some forest creatures which have got a certain type of costume which makes them stay hidden. I won't reveal exactly what it is, but that's most of where the jump scares will come through, is them, because you'll never expect them. They can literally be right there, and when it's dark you will never see them, as you've probably experienced. So then with that as well, the makeup, we have a lot of UV paint, because we have a lot of UV lights inside, so we have a lot of the green UV paint. So the actors will put that on their faces to get the kind of feeling that they've kind of been taken by the forest and kind of possessed. A lot of them will have like ivy wrapped around them as well. So you have like the firearms with the military, and like I said, with the ivy as well. And then the finale, you've got the body, which is in there, which is the gag, which we utilised from Containment. So that was actually the Containment body that was in the blood room. And then also you've got other bits. So behind you, the compound military tent is actually the tent from Containment as well. So yeah, we kind of tried to recycle as much as we can from other attractions and utilise them, kind of help boost the production value of this one.
just little details as well. The guests will literally walk through this for a couple of seconds, but if you look behind, there is a real toilet that has been made because, of course, like if you're in a military camp, you will need facilities. So we've really thought about that stuff as well. All of these bullet holes here, this was made by our scenic team, but they've been drilled in to make it look like they have been shot at. So it's just all those attention to detail that bring this attraction to life. And I feel like this is so far different from anything we've done before, so far different from platforms. So you've got two completely different experiences from an attraction point of view or from a maze point of view. And we've never really done hidden characters before, have we? So that was something brand new and really exciting to do. So yeah.
Just one more question whilst we're talking about the future. Obviously, I know you can't say a lot yet, but next year is a big year for Fright Nights. Are there going to be exciting plans? When is it going to be planned? Kind of anything you can tell us?
So again, I think a lot of it does depend on what's happening outside of the park in terms of the current climate. But it is our 20th anniversary. We have done things such as for the 15th year, we brought back some of our favourite roaming teams or some of our favourite attractions within the roaming team, which on Facebook could vote for. So depending on what one was the most popular would be the team that went out on park that day. So you got to see the Freeze or Experiment 10 or Studio 13. So it is a big year next year. We have got lots of ideas floating around. A lot of it does depict of when our season starts again and kind of what is it that we want to achieve. But there are plans going around. We're already talking about it. Nothing's set in stone yet, but it is a big year and we're all really excited for it. So
that's very exciting. I and everyone else probably watching this video are very excited to see what you all come up with. So we've now headed over to the final scare zone of the day. It's Amity High.
Indeed, Amity High, as we mentioned earlier, was here last year. Definitely a fan favourite. The rival school to Lycanthorpe High, which we were over at earlier. As you can see behind me here, this is where the performance area is. However, as soon as you're in this area from 3 o'clock onwards, you do get to meet the vamps of Amity High. You have multiple characters here. You have geeks, jocks, cheerleaders, you have some punks as well, so there's loads of different characters over here that you don't necessarily see at Lycanthorpe High. At Lycanthorpe High you get to see hip hoppers as well, so that's where we have, we have different layers to the universe that I mentioned. Here is where the flash mob happens, the dance. Last year the dance was done by the vamps, but this year the Lycans come over to rival them to the dance. So instead of it being a dance-off, we wanted to tell the story of the rivalry through the dance. So it's a dance piece explaining the story, which Emily and Leah worked really hard on with our team and our show captains. So they really focused on the movement. So if you listen to some of the songs, you will see the partnership between the Lycans and the Amity guys really come to life. There's a song it's a remix of Sweet Dreams, and you'll see that the Amity kids really control the Lycans through their powers, and you'll see that interaction throughout that story. So yeah, again, this is something that really pulls in a lot of guests and a lot of families as well.
With Amity, same as Lycan, decided to upgrade it. So last year with Amity it was the red and black, and then what we did is designed the A's and the Amity High bits, printed them off, and then they were originally iron transferred on, but this year we stepped up the mark and so they're all embroidered again. And then with the 80s now, we kind of changed how they were last year. As the Vipers, we kind of upgraded them to the punks now, so they've got the tartan trousers, the chains, and they still got the leather jackets. With them as well, they've got the clear face marks, like with the Lycanthorpe guys, and then they have their own teeth as well. Then also some added extras with them. This year within their dance they have a fake American football, which they just show their pure strength by popping it. Which they use, which is a prop that we made as well in-house. And then as well as that, we've also kind of upgraded our set dressing as well, so you can see that giant Amity High lettering which lights up at night as well.
It's definitely a fan favourite area, and as we have said many times in the vlogs, the dance is even better this year. So we've now headed into the final Fright Nights offering of the day, the Screamplex Cinema.
So Screamplex, as you would have known, was here in previous years, where we have films and bloody cuts play throughout the day for our guests. But this year we decided to put actors in it, which is something, again, we've never done before, which I feel like is the underlying title of this year. Let's try something new. So this is definitely an attraction where we have brought back a character from the archives, a personal favourite of ours, which is the director from Studio 13. He already returned in 2016 with his Studio 13 family of the Goodwills for our roaming element, but this year he is back. And he is looking for new cast members. So we do play films from Bloody Cuts, which are great, but we have the director come and interact with our guests beforehand. So guests can either see the director and his production crew and his makeup artist Maggie outside as well. But if you come in to see the shows, you get to see him cast for his new film and talk about some of the actors in the films that he's cast, such as Tilly and Ryan are the characters that you'll meet who do pop up in the films every now and then. So this is where we have gone through the archives, as I was saying, with things such as the Big Top and previous attractions, where never say never. We never thought that we would see the director in Screamplex, but here he is. And something that we've really focused on with this is bringing the safety measures to light through media. So we looked at how can we relay the safety restrictions and the safety instructions in a really fun, engaging way. So outside in the queue line, the director is explaining about you must wear your face mask, you must stay distant, but as a character. So again, it's getting the message across, but it's all about bringing that immersion from the moment you step into the attraction or the area.
I had the honour of actually being part of the cast of Studio 13, so loved it. So I know in depth of how the character and the makeup artist Maggie worked. So we kept the standard suit that he wore. We kind of just upgraded a few bits. So this time now he's got a purple waistcoat and a purple tie with a shirt, and then he's got that blooded side of his face. So with that he wears his black mask over it as well. And then you have Maggie, the makeup artist, with her typical fur coat that she wears and her dress, and then she's also got her makeup brushes, which if you manage to look close enough you can actually see that all the makeup brushes have actually got blood on them. So it just gives that little bit of extra sort of prop and set sort of look there. And then with the other characters, like Steph said, with Ryan and Tilly, we watched the Bloody Cuts videos, and then from that had a look at a costume which would best fit those characters for the actors to wear as well.
I won't keep these guys much longer because they've got to shoot off, but thank you so much for showing us around today. I know for myself it's been a dream video to film. I've loved seeing everything and really enjoying what you guys have done for this year's Fright Nights. Thank you so much.
Amazing. No, you're welcome. Thank you for having us and wanting to come around and seeing everything, and we hope that you've enjoyed it. I've seen some little Easter eggs and some inkling to what happens backstage, which is just really scratching the surface. But yeah, just thank you for coming down, and I hope you enjoy any other time you come and see our shows during Fright Nights this year.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of today's video. As I just said, a massive thank you to Steph and Jimm for showing us around today, and a big thank you to Thorpe Park for sorting this all out, and of course a massive thank you to Kieran, who's on the cam right now. His Instagram is down below, so go and drop him a follow. And yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 20,000 subscribers, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps out. And yeah, otherwise, my name's TheJackSilkstone. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Last night we went to Thorpe Park.